So what you put is jdprime.net.
Oh, is the JD capital?
No.
JD?
It's just jdprime.net.
That's for prime.
Prime.
Prime?
Yes, .net.
JD prime, no anything between?
Yeah, jdprime.net.
Hey y'all, Scott here. I hate rumors. Ever since the dawn of time, they've been used to spoil major reveals. And ever since, they've been primarily used to get the attention of Nintendo fans, such as this one. Nintendo's lineup for 2021. This one's fake.
What is this? Where are you at?
This is an eye exam.
Oh man, the build-up to a system's reveal and release is unlike anything else. Just that feeling of excitement. It's familiar to your old console, but bigger and better and all new. But because of that, rumors start floating around. You start to ask some questions.
Chicken!
Tuck me in.
Pretty much with any upcoming video game console, you get fishy statements from
you
the
go over
dark
here.
alleyways of the internet. Articles reading, yeah, sure, it'll make you lunch. Some info may leak out ahead of time and turn out to be true. And then there's this. Rumors and leaks are either what keeps the excitement
Here,
rolling
John,
or
come
what
here.
kills it immediately. Every system has them, and I think it's
Come
as
here.
good a time as any to pick a console and go through the gossip throughout its
Left
life.
click.
So, let's see what system we'll be scouring. Damn it, the Nintendo 3DS, a monumental leap forward for all things called 3DS. It was a Nintendo handheld, of course it did well, but its main gimmick was the glasses-free 3D screen. Now, back when this portable was announced, 3D was
Let's
the
iron here.
thing,
Go ahead,
as
man.
in everybody went to go see the movie Avatar in 3D and then gave up.
Don't you,
I consider it
don't
to be
you
a
just start,
fad. I mean,
man.
that was one of the biggest movies of all time, so all these companies worked on a bunch of 3D-centric products like 3D TVs
No,
and
you
3D
can't use
Blu-rays,
Alpha because
but you still had to wear icebreakers to enjoy
Yeah,
them.
you-
3D glasses were almost always required to
using a
enjoy
hammer.
3D content, which could sometimes ruin the magic. You take those glasses off and the screen's just a blurry mess. It kind of reinforced the idea that the 3D visuals you were experiencing were just mere illusions. So the idea of glasses-free 3D was incredibly intriguing. Not needing glasses made way for experiences to be so much more engaging and immersive, so it's no surprise that once the technology for glasses-free 3D became more easily implementable into consumer products, it was. Yeah, a cell phone with glasses-free 3D. It's like the clock's really there.
750.
But Nintendo was one of the first big companies to embrace the tech in their juicy new handheld system, which brings us back to
Yeah, you can
2009.
use some-
In 2009, the Nintendo DS was hitting its stride
And
with
then just
multiple
watch YouTube.
revisions and an enormous library of titles. However, it was 5-year-old hardware at this point. People were starting to ask when the next generation of Nintendo handhelds was hitting the scene, a Nintendo DS2, if you will. Then Nintendo president Satoru Iwata made a brief statement on the matter to the Japanese publication Asahi Shimbun, revealing, the Nintendo DS successor will have highly detailed graphics and it will be necessary to have a sensor with the ability to read the movements of people playing.
Just like that, huh? I mean, on the surface, it doesn't seem like much info. Like, of course, your next handheld is going to have better graphics. And yeah, it was probably a given it was going to have motion detection in it. But come on, this is Nintendo. They don't even like
Don't do
reveal
that
if their
because
employees
I
go to
got
the
kids.
bathroom. But why just let out two facts
my
about their
name.
next handheld, and that there is, in fact, going to be a next handheld. Nintendo then barged in and said, you don't know that. This interview was later clarified to be a misinterpretation of Nintendo's future plans by a spokesperson for the company. See, that's the Nintendo I know.
Claiming what somebody said was false to then later be the liars themselves. Like, of course they're making a successor to the DS. Of course it's going to have better graphics. Of course it's going to have motion sensors in it. Why bother hiding it after Iwata said it? Iwata himself made further statements on the interview, asking if better graphics and motion sensing would be enough to sell a DS successor. You can't just have better graphics and more controls. You need something else.
Sex appeal!
Late 2009 to early 2010, speculation started to ramp up for a DS2, with rumors that many were receiving development kits around this time, specifically the Pokemon Company. Couple that with patents Nintendo was filing, and we have ourselves articles, and 2 of them. So Nintendo patented Rumble technology that would be transmitted to the DS stylus pen, so if you hit an enemy in a touchscreen-based game, you'd receive feedback in the stylus. And on top of that, some new cartridges. Now the stylus Rumble never came to be, but the new DS cartridges, well, the 3DS did have differently shaped game cards, but barely. They were designed this way to ensure they fit in a Nintendo 3DS, but don't fit in a Nintendo DS. We never got these overly long cartridges like this patent suggests. However, I believe this could be in relation to DS development cartridges, which were longer than retail ones. As 2010 made its way through the door, rumors persisted about the next DS, one guy deciding to snoop around the Game Developers Conference that year to find as much info as he could. His findings? I'll take anything at this point. Basically, he discovered the system was going to be more powerful than the Nintendo DS.
Shut the f up!
Graphical capabilities were comparable to the GameCube, and while the system would have two screens again, they would be bigger, have a better resolution, and the gap between them would be shrunken significantly. I mean, a lot of this did happen with the 3DS, but a shrinking gap between the two screens, I don't think so. People were asking developers what they wanted out of a new DS, with one saying cellular and GPS. That's the one thing I wanted to worry about playing Pac-Fix, a data plan. I mean, why would Nintendo announce a DS2? It was early 2010, they were just about to release a brand new DS revision, the TSI XL. I don't get you. On March 23rd, 2010, Nintendo officially announced a successor to the Nintendo DS. It wasn't called the Nintendo DS2, it was the Nintendo 3DS.
You made this shirt for nothing?
This was done via press release, thus the system wasn't shown. In fact, the name Nintendo 3DS was considered temporary at the time. The big reveal was that it had a screen capable of displaying 3D imagery without the need for glasses, which was actually teased by Iwata during an interview a few months prior. The question related to his stance on 3D gaming. His response was pretty much, good glasses. DS games would be fully compatible with handheld, and the 3DS was supposed to be formally shown
Well, if you
later
get
that year at
$2,000,
E3
you can get
2010. Of course, with the
sort of
official
chance.
announcement out of the way, we got a treasure trove for Photoshop. Anybody with a finger, a mouse, and an open weekend whipped up what they thought the 3DS would be. Notice how I didn't say anybody with a brain. I kid. A lot of the system mock-ups are pretty well done and crazy impressive,
diamond
especially for
sword.
2010. But that doesn't mean they're above getting critiqued.
Where?
Hello everybody and welcome to Critique That Leak, the show for people looking for meaning in their life. You just have to look
Let's see.
really hard. We here at Critique That Leak take our leak critiquer titles
Oh,
very
for winning.
seriously. It's not every day
You
somebody
won
goes to
the-
the
you
effort of
won the-
opening up Photoshop, so we really have to embrace each and every leak we can. Who has time to erase one word from a Zelda logo? During 2017 to
1,000.
2018, there were some rumors floating around about a Link's Awakening
I got
remake heading to the
1,000. It's
Nintendo
1,000 like
3DS.
200 or
Now,
something.
that ended up being for the Nintendo Switch, and while I do believe that remake probably started life on the 3DS, this isn't it. This guy decided to be clever and lazy. See, the title of Legend of Zelda Awakening follows the format of another Game Boy remake on 3DS, Metroid Samus Returns. I take the original title and shake the words up a bit for the remake. The problem is Nintendo didn't use the original Zelda logo from the 90s with no real alterations for a new release of theirs, even if it is for a remake. However, I will put this link up on the wall to remind me no matter how lazy I am, I can be lazier. Nintendo obviously announced the 3DS early to get ahead of leaks. When you buy millions of tiny 3D screens from a company to put into your handheld, that's probably going to get out there. And Nintendo does like to control their own destiny. They don't like people announcing stuff for them. So they announced their new handheld in their own special way. This, of course, raised many questions. Rumors spread like wildfire. Developers were saying all these things about the system. EA said it was cool. Around this time, somebody asked Nintendo customer support about Golden Sun Dark Dawn for the DS, and they responded with, "We can't say anything, but definitely keep an eye on the 3DS at E3 this year." Did that mean Golden Sun Dark Dawn was coming to the 3DS?
I think dead people go farther than that story ever did.
Nintendo's trademarks for the system started to become public. Terms like Nintendo 3DSware, now WiiWare and DSiWare were terms used for downloadable-only games on those respective systems. Will the 3DS have similar terminology? Will the 3DS be in widescreen? Will Animal Crossing be a launch title? Will the 3DS be cool? A blogger who supposedly had their hands on a development kit for the system posted this mock-up, which was literally just a DS with a bigger screen. To be fair, the info shared alongside the mock-up ended up being fairly accurate, although they were unsure if it would have an analog stick. The big rumor going into E3 2010 was the report that NVIDIA was supplying Nintendo with the Tegra chip to use in the 3DS. Now, NVIDIA and Nintendo are totally swapping spit right now as they supply the chipset for the Nintendo Switch. But talks started with the 3DS. There were definite discussions to have the company power the handheld, but plans fell through.
Hey, Jonathan, I got my
Rumors of
diamond
NVIDIA
pickaxe and my
Nintendo
diamond
system
sword.
emerged around 2009, but were put to bed in June of 2010. Developers were asked about the system, with many saying,
Play
"Oh yeah,
diamond
this thing is more
pickaxe.
powerful than a Wii. Hell,
So you
we
can
can
get
make stuff on par with
the
Xbox
obsidian
360
because it
games."
gives you.
This thing can barely play Luigi's Mansion.
Nintendo's E3 2010 press conference finally brought us our
Yeah, it
first
gives you
look at the
$20
Nintendo
for
3DS.
Obsidian.
It was fundamentally a DS inspired by a layer cake. A widescreen display, circle pad, gyroscope, glasses-free 3D, motion sensor, 3D
No.
cameras, glasses-free
The
3D,
Prime
Street
Dot
Pass,
has
glasses-free
its own.
3D. Nintendo really f***ing hated those glasses. What a press conference.
Yeah, it doesn't-
Everybody was jazzed about the 3DS. Attendees were pumped about how the 3D actually worked. And Kid Icarus Uprising being unveiled alongside the system after so many people clamor for the series' return? With Animal Crossing, Mario Kart, Paper Mario, Nintendo's Ocarina of Time 3D, Professor Layton, Star Fox 64, Steel Diver, f***ing Steel Diver, and numerous classic games being demonstrated on it. This was going to be an amazing handheld. The 3DS's design was near final at the show with some slight tweaks. For example, the circle pad was color-coded to the system, and it wasn't actually called the circle pad. Say hello to slide. But of course, with so much excitement came misinformation around this time. Rumors of achievements and voice chat being implemented alongside the ability to copy games to the system's memory spread around. Leaks of a release date in November 2010, or just many dates in general. I swear literally there was a rumor of it releasing in every month of 2010. Some Nintendo developers hinted to Wario making an appearance on the 3DS. I hope they winked after saying that. Nintendo's European website stated Paper Mario for 3DS was releasing on March 25th, 2011. Give or take a year and a half, they weren't that far off. But in actuality, while that was the incorrect date for Paper Mario, that ended up being the exact day the Nintendo 3DS launched in Europe. This era of the 3DS was filled with developer interviews basically saying, man, could you imagine this game on the 3DS? Like Devil's Third. Keep telling yourself that. Nintendo interviews were actually very telling in this age. Hideki Kono pretty much said, yeah, I can see a 3DS. Less than a year later, how did he get away with that? Miyamoto teased that Super Mario World would make a return on the 3DS. I have no clue what he meant by that. Like the original game? A remake? A return to that world? A 3D version of Mario World? Because some of those sort of happened, but I have no idea what he was talking about based on this interview. The trademarks Nintendo filed came to light, revealing the names CrossPass and titles with 3D in them. These definitely became a lot of the built-in software on 3DS, like Street Pass and the AR games. Specs were rumored alongside backlit buttons. No. So this footage of the cancelled game My Garden had this lower quality CGI model of the 3DS, and because of that, the buttons looked illuminated. I find absolutely no reason to backlight 4 small buttons on anything with 3D or S in the title. The latter half of 2010 was filled with a lot of stuff like this. Speculation on this thing we already knew quite a bit about. It was just a matter of waiting for it to actually release at this point. Lots of rumors of the system's release date or release window floated around constantly. However, one of the last news stories of the year was the rumor that the Monster Hunter series was jumping platforms. It was primarily a PlayStation franchise at this point and did tremendously well over there. But with the 3DS looming over, Capcom CEO hinted that with the release of the new system, especially after Monster Hunter Tri was a Wii exclusive, the series may find a new home.
There you go.
Of course,
Once
that
that thing
happened.
disappears,
Now all we had to do in
got it.
2011 was wait for the system to get into somebody's hand. That was quick. So these logos made the rounds in early 2012 and were supposedly a set of Zelda titles, one called the Ice Prophecy and one called the Fire Prophecy. Obviously being a dual release puts these in line with Oracle of Seasons and Ages from the Game Boy Color. I gotta be honest, at first glance, there's not a ton to pick apart with these ones. They're fairly well done. However, somebody
go
Japanese
to
came forward and stated that the
go
kanji
to
used in the titles were
you
nonsensical.
you
They
see
obviously
Sword?
use Google
Come on, you see
Translate or
Sword?
something to
Click
create
it,
the
and then
Japanese
you have
text.
one
As
ordinary
somebody who
key, you
doesn't
can
speak
use it.
Japanese, I gotta say, what a fucking idiot. Somebody swiped a 3DS off the
Sharpness
production
and fire
line and yup,
aspect.
they sure had a camera with them. Now before the system released, Nintendo showcased the prototype of it and I'm sorry I ever doubted you. Pikmin for 3DS was listed by some random retailer, and while Pikmin for
What's
3DS
Fire
was announced
Aspect
5.5 years
and,
later, I don't think they had that much foresight. The 3DS ended up launching to an overwhelming, this is just okay. Launch item
Slap-
wasn't
did you
terrible,
put your
there
nick
was stuff
in
to play, but
FTP
you can make the
connects?
argument camp soap is stuff, calling these games stuff is
Idiot!
generous.
You have to go do it again.
Nothing amazing, especially from Nintendo themselves. Like, holy shit, Pilot Wings, Nintendogs, and Steel Diver? Did they really expect anybody to unironically go, holy shit, Pilot Wings, Nintendogs, and Steel Diver? But people knew the goods were coming eventually. Ocarina of Time 3D, Star Fox 64 3D, a Mario 3D platformer, Mario Kart, things were looking up. People were excited for the future of the system, and because of that, let's talk one of the biggest rumors in the early days of the 3DS, the Nintendo 3DS Lite. A redesigned and refined version of the handheld in a similar fashion to the Nintendo DS Lite. Basically, people were waiting for the 3DS to get out of those growing pains and have a way better model. Everybody was saying, yeah, that's great, where's your hotter sun? Better battery life, better screens, better 3D effect, better design, a second circle pad, just a few things people were wanting. A new 3DS with a second circle pad was always talked about, and that was primarily because around this time was when Sony announced the successor to the PSP, the next generation portable, NGP, featuring not one, but 2 reasons to not buy a 3DS. People just automatically jumped to the fact that the 3DS needed a second stick just because the NGP had one, and due to all this, Nintendo had to respond to the press about a new 3DS model before the first model even came out. But they may have had to ask that because of the late launch of the system. I mean, what else was the press going to ask Nintendo? Plus, to move universes on the 3DS, how does that make you feel? Games and news were sparse leading up to E3 2011 that summer. I mean, Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games for the 3DS was leaked via a Czech press release. Please say holy
Jonathan.
shit. Please
Hi,
say holy shit.
Jonathan.
Most
Hey,
leaks
yo,
and
what
rumors
you
had to do with
doing?
retailers accidentally listing games before they were to be officially announced. Rayman Origins and Sonic
lying.
Generations had the hardest time staying a surprise. Kept getting listed multiple times before their announcements, especially Sonic Generations for 3DS. Sega themselves accidentally included it on an earnings report, quickly said, oh god, removed it, announced it like a month later. Now one of the big games we were looking forward to seeing more on was the 3D Mario game for 3DS, announced at the Game Developers Conference of 2011. And right before E3, this screenshot circulated around, and it was just a Photoshop of another game. But hey, at least it was news about the 3DS. E3 2011 happened, and the 3DS definitely had a fair amount of coverage. We got trailers for Super Mario 3D, Mario Kart 3D, Kid Icarus Uprising, and Luigi's Mansion 2 was fully unveiled, but that didn't prepare us for
Now go to it and
Battlefield
then
3
press
on the
slash
3DS being listed by EA Portugal. However, E3 2011 was definitely focused on Nintendo's new home console announcement, the Wii
Go to
U. It
Minecraft
was
and
announced,
then
and that's
slash
all I can say about the legacy of this system. During that summer, the 3DS was hurting hard. Sure, Ocarina of Time 3D came out, but it didn't do enough to turn around the slow sales for the system, so Nintendo had to make the difficult decision to cut the price from $250 to $170. To make the price cut sting that much less for those who bought a 3DS near launch, Nintendo announced that 20 NES and Game Boy Advance games would be given to them for free, with some titles being announced right there on the spot and others being announced at a later date. And Nintendo kept accidentally saying Mario 3 was going to be one of them, and it wasn't. But easily, the biggest rumor in the summer of 2011 was that Nintendo had something up their sleeves. They heard people were complaining that the 3DS only had one circle pad, and a rumor popped up that they would be releasing an attachment for the handheld that upped that one to 2. This rumor was accompanied by one that stated Nintendo was going to release a new 3DS model in 2012 that would de-emphasize the 3D alongside a new design and name. Now, there was a new 3DS model in 2012, the Nintendo 3DS XL. It was none of this. I mean, it was a new design, there were different elements to it, but when you get down to it, the 3DS XL was basically just a
You
bigger
hit,
3DS,
look
so
at the
not a
sign first,
radically
and
new
then
look or
left
anything.
click.
This rumor, however, perfectly describes the 3DS model Nintendo released in 2013.
Did you
the
get it, John?
Nintendo
Did you get the
2DS.
stuff?
No 3D screen, completely new design,
John, pause the
different
game.
name. They got the release year wrong, but I wouldn't be
You
surprised
forgot the
if this is
underscore.
what they were talking about. But back to the second circle pad. More reports popped up
No,
pertaining
you go
to it,
to it.
including
Oh
many
my god,
claiming
let
it
me
would
show
be
you.
revealed
Here,
in
look.
the Japanese
I'll
magazine Famitsu
I'll do it.
alongside Monster Hunter Tri-G. A description of the device leaked out, and when the Famitsu article
I'll
came,
do it. I'll do it. You
what
just
the hell is
continue
that?
here.
Finally, a soap dish for my 3DS. This thing was a behemoth, but it was a necessary behemoth. This was made specifically to combat criticism of the 3DS compared to the upcoming NGP by Sony, finally renamed to PlayStation Vita, and to also lure in more traditional games, more stuff like Metal Gear and Resident Evil. I believe this thing was made just to shut people up about the 3DS needing a second stick, because when it came out, that's all I can really say about it. It came out, it was barely supported, and nobody bought it. In one sec, I know some people bought it, you don't have to tell me, Scott, I bought the Circle Pad Pro, I go to bed with it every night. A rumor floated around that Xenoblade developer Monolith Soft was working on a 3DS title, and it was a threequel, the third title in a beloved series. This obviously pointed to a third Baten Kaidos game, as that was one of the only Monolith Soft series that could have gotten a third game, but nothing happened. Monolith Soft did develop the Project Cross Zone games for the 3DS, and Xenoblade was brought over to the new 3DS in 2015, but other than that, they didn't do all too much on this system. As fall came around, Super Mario 3DS and Mario Kart 3DS were both given names. And they could have been worse. When full-blown artwork of Mario 3D Land was revealed, many with keen eyes discovered Tanuki Luigi was in the game! Fans discovered what Nintendo was too scared to reveal. Following the Nintendo 3DS Lite, we have one of the other big rumors that persisted constantly, the Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 3D.
I know.
After Ocarina of Time 3D, a remake of that game's sequel seemed like a no-brainer. Pretty much every interview with Zelda producer Eiji Aonuma contained a question about a Majora's Mask remake on 3DS. Fan campaigns and consistent teasing occurred for years. Nintendo knew how much people wanted this, and would put Easter eggs into games or bring it up during interviews. But it was always eclipsed by the rumor that Sonic Generations 3DS make it delayed to 2012. It didn't, but still. During the Majora's Mask 3D hysteria from 2011 to 2014, various rumors came out about the game's existence. Retailer listings, hints from Nintendo. It was a game that just had to come out at some point, and I specifically remember retailer listings would use fan box art sometimes. And I will take this as an opportunity to say this box art was really good, but I like the fan box art that was more in line with Ocarina 3D. I am a big supporter of that. But here we have some fan art that some people took as a real Majora's Mask 3DS XL, purple and all. The perfect color for a Majora's Mask themed system. And what Majora's Mask system did we get? I'm glad I'm colorblind. Well, talking Majora's Mask, and looking perfect color for a Majora's Mask themed system. And what Majora's Mask system did we get?
I'm glad I'm colorblind.
Well, talking to George Mask, Enigma confirmed a new Zelda game for 3DS was being worked on, and later on in another interview stated that there were talks about a 3D Link to the Past.
Yeah, I did it,
remake.
John. There you go.
They would not let up about Link to the Past on 3DS, with talks of a remake and even potentially a sequel. Looking back, it's obvious why they wouldn't shut up about it, because they were making it. Honestly, even when Nintendo's pretty blunt about this kind of stuff, they still surprise me. Nearing the end of 2011, it was
claim
reported
your
that the
ordinary
seventh game in a popular JRPG franchise would get an enhanced remake for the 3DS. Now, many assumed it would either be Dragon Quest VII or Final Fantasy VII, and between those two, it turned out to be Dragon Quest, which was announced a year later. At the start of 2012, we're going in hot with something that hasn't been rumored yet. The Nintendo 3DS Lite, fuck you. Thinner and better battery life than the current model. I always felt that 2012 was a very ho-hum year for the 3DS, and it's starting with another rumor about the 3DS Lite solidifies that. Now, one thing that
Come on, let's
did
go
really
into,
got people
Survival.
talking was the box art for Theater Rhythm Final
Yeah.
Fantasy.
Go to
In the
work.
top left corner, there was a logo for something
No.
called Nintendo Network. As more box art started popping up with this logo, many wondered, well, what is this? I assumed it was new branding for the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection. Nintendo would pop this logo in the corners of games that supported internet connectivity, and I wasn't wrong. Nintendo Network was pretty much that. That was like the logo and name for this. It's a shame it only appeared during this generation. Like I said, 2012 was kind of a whatever year for the 3DS. It was obvious Nintendo was really prepping for the Wii U's launch, so 3DS took a bit of a backseat. Why do I say this? We got press releases like this. Nintendo hired a spokesdog. Soul Calibur 5 was listed for the 3DS, sure. Oh, my favorite one was when EV Games had box art for Donkey Kong 3D up. They then said it was a mistake and probably destroyed their entire stock of fake box art. I mean, a year after this rumor, Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D was announced, and the art used on this box was from Donkey Kong Country Returns. Probably doesn't mean anything, but they might have been onto something. It was reported that Nintendo was attempting to fund third-party franchise revivals on the 3DS, with one of the series
What
being
happened?
the infamous Seaman. 3 years later, in 2015, a Seaman 3DS game was confirmed to be in development at some point, but it ended up being cancelled. It is unfortunate because as Seaman is, I think the 3DS would have been the perfect platform for it. But since that was confirmed to be in development, that means Nintendo was seeking other franchises to be revived on the system, which is pretty interesting. I know they said third party, but the developer of Seaman made Odama on the GameCube, which was published by Nintendo. Why didn't we get Odama 3D? A few months before E3 2012, other 3DS titles were being rumored, such as a companion title to Epic Mickey 2 on the system, this one being 2D entitled Power of Illusion, a follow-up to Castle of Illusion on the Sega Genesis. That was completely true. Nintendo of America went on a rampage registering website domain names, and what happened to slip through? FireEmblemAwakening.com. Fire Emblem on 3DS was just about to release in Japan at this time, but no word of it coming over to North America or Europe just yet. While it wasn't official for a couple more months, this was pretty blatant confirmation. And not only did their domain registrations leak, but some patents came out too. If Nintendo killed them, it would probably leak through a patent. This one showcases a new circle pad design akin to the style of the GameCube controller stick, and this one focuses on AR technology where, for example, the game tells you, find me something blue, anxiety attack follows, find something blue, bam, you win. Now, if this became anything, I'd say it was Chibi Robo Photo Finder. That game asks you to find real-life objects to take pictures of to transport into the game, which is kind of the vibe I'm getting from this patent. This one shows up using the stylus to control a game
You
without
do
touching the top
slash,
screen.
where do you
I assume
find
this
slash
would have been a way
and
to
what?
implement a touchscreen sort of deal to the 3D screen of the 3DS with a vibrating stylus. And no matter how useless and wasteful of money you think this idea is, why don't you try to do what the 3DS is doing? I bet you can. Castlevania Mirror of Faith for the 3DS was rumored for E3 2012.
Don't do
Almost
it because you're
nearly.
gonna lose
But
all your
here we
books.
have the big one, the rumor to end all rumors, the Nintendo 3DS XL. Nikkei reported that Nintendo was set to reveal a 3DS with a bigger screen similar to the Nintendo DSi XL at E3 2012. This was accompanied by Wii U pricing info, and Nintendo said these rumors were false.
This is Nintendo 3DS XL.
What the hell happened there? If we actually look at Nintendo's response to these rumors, they said some things are incorrect. Alright, so the 3DS XL isn't something. Now going back to Fire Emblem Awakening's domain registration, you may ask, when did it officially get revealed for the States? Well, Reggie Fils-Aimé got in front of some journalists at E3 2012 and proudly said,
Fire Emblem Awakening's coming to Nintendo 3DS. Damn it.
apparently he wasn't supposed to say that, but he sure did. Alongside Fire Emblem, another game that was rumored to be localized at some point was Tomodachi Life, known in Japan as
Oh,
Tomodachi
freaking
Collection.
using the
This
wrong
eventually made it
keyboard.
over in 2014, but a localization was consistently talked about beforehand. Back then, rumors of its translation started when many assumed the title over here would be Communicator Gamers Collection. Moving on, Alpha Dream, the developers of the Mario and Luigi series, filed a patent in 2012 showcasing how a character on the bottom screen of the 3DS would be manipulated to then help a character on the top screen progress through a level. This is literally Mario and Luigi Dream Team a year before it was announced. With the 3DS XL's introduction, many retailers started to promote
remember
the product,
that?
with
You
one getting a little too
remember?
excited.
You were gusty now, you
That's not
remember.
right. Look, a second circle pad. I'm telling you, people would have killed for a second circle pad. Look at all the 3DS games that can use a second circle pad with Tetris Access, Tetris Ultimate. I need this. Can you imagine if you had access to a top secret Nintendo game and all you had on you was a flip book for a camera and decided to only film the title screen?
Buy
It's a fucking handheld system. You can't film it there, pick it up and bring it to the bathroom. Now, the rest of 2012 was pretty light in terms of rumors and speculation, but when 2013 came along, that's when things started to heat up. The best year in 3DS history. Every single month there was a new experience from Nintendo themselves. It was bliss. And it all started out with the announcement of a Pokemon Nintendo Direct in January. Now, keep in mind, a Pokemon 3DS title had been long awaited for at this point. They kept making games for the DS when the 3DS was a thing, but before the live stream happened, many saw the keywords 3DS in the description, implying that this wasn't going to be Pokemon 2 for the Nintendo DS. This was going to be a big one. Monster Hunter 4 was a 3DS exclusive, but after it got delayed, rumors persisted of it all being so a PlayStation Vita version could release alongside it. Never. It's actually surprising me that Monster Hunter never made it to the Vita, but the website that reported that can always dream. Many 3DS rumors at this point had to do with trademark filings leaking out or retailer listings just having the time of their lives. New Super Luigi for the 3DS? Why not? Angry Birds Star Wars? It sure did. Lego Friends? Lego? Of course, there was the coveted special edition systems that always seem to be announced via ads or through store inventory systems before Nintendo could even think about making them. Pokemon X and Y systems were reported via Target's inventory. Zelda: A Link Between Worlds and Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon bundles were shown off in weekly ads. This Mario and Luigi Dream Team 3DS XL floated around a bit before releasing, and by God, I remember they could not sell this for the life of them. For a special edition system, this sure went on sale a lot. This Luigi 2DS turned out to be a fake made by a fan. Would you look at that? I mean, this stuff was the most exciting 3DS speculation at the time. With Mario and Sonic at the Sochi 2014 Olympic Winter Games is coming to the 3DS. Oh, never mind. F it, make a Luigi 2DS. Now, a pretty common way for games to get leaked is through the rating system. When a game gets rated, be prepared for anarchy. Steel Divers Sub Wars was ousted through these means alongside NES Remix for the Wii U. The sequel to Steel Diver was leaked through the Australian classification website. Now, I don't usually get pissed about things leaking. This was an exception. Something consistently rumored with the 3DS was legacy content from other systems being available on the Nintendo eShop. We got NES, Game Boy Color, and Game Gear at this point, but strangely, Reggie did say years prior that TurboGrafx 16 games would be available. I'm still waiting. And while Game Boy Advance was available to early adopters of the 3DS as a Please God Forgives package, they were never available to the general public. And didn't stop speculation. Pretty much everybody predicted GBA games would be available on the 3DS. In fact, a lot of things led to various GBA titles appeared on Nintendo of Europe's website, implying they were coming. But there were also SNES titles rumored for the 3DS. On Miiverse, the social media network for 3DS and Wii U, most games had communities you could harass, and one of them was the
What?
accessing this community on the 3DS would show the game running on a 3DS XL. What does that mean? Well, Miiverse communities for virtual console games on the Wii U and 3DS always had this template going on in their banner. It was either the 3DS or Wii U displaying a screenshot of the game. So if I had to guess, I'd say this was an automatic template created, gone wrong. But everything we've talked about has led to this. See, when Yoshi's New Island was coming out, a certain listing popped up online detailing special edition Yoshi 3DS XL. This spread like wildfire and showed off an image of the system, and he said it was hideous. It was also made by a 16-year-old Scott. Yeah, I got bored one day in July of 2013 and decided to make a mock-up for a special edition 3DS box. The core idea here was to just make a box for the system. I wanted to try and mimic the design of something like the Animal Crossing 3DS box. The 3DS design itself was an afterthought. I effectively gave the 3DS liver spots, and then IGN reported on this thing, and so did a lot of other sites. I feel really proud about that one. The reason my fan art was used was because Yoshi 3DS was actually coming out, and one of these retailers just decided to Google Yoshi 3DS and uploaded the worst looking one we could find. To commemorate the experience, I recently bought the actual 3DS this listing was for. We're out of green spots on this one, but it's still okay. Back in 2017, Nintendo announced a multiplayer Kirby game was in the works for the 3DS, and right before E3, this year's screenshot leaked, and it was one of the better ones I've seen. The overall style of the logo looks really professional, and honestly, better than some other Kirby games. Now, what are Star Knights? I don't know. It seems like they popped this into a Kirby title generator.
screen! You ever see a game not on a screen? This one must be true. I don't have much to say about this one other than nothing screams a fantasy adventure game more than a big fat G on the shield. Yeah, the vast majority of rumors in the latter half of the 3DS's life really had to do with new system colors and variations. I'd argue that's because more people had a 3DS than a Wii U. The Wii U and home console rumors in general were
We need to get
one-sided.
finished Super Mario Bros.
This is something
U.
I noticed with Nintendo in general. They always hold their home console stuff in higher regards. You always see them nostalgically reminiscing about their home consoles. Their handhelds don't get nearly as much love. Case in point, what was the big 3DS talk at the time? There's a Seagreen 2DS coming? Well, Smash Bros. 3DS was leaked in flyers. I mean, that was pretty interesting. It was better than the rumor about Codename Steam getting a demo via free trading cards. Woo. Right before E3 2015, a trailer for the 3DS version of Hyrule Warriors was accidentally uploaded early to Tecmo Koei's YouTube channel, and during that summer it was uncovered that Mercury Steam, the developers behind Castlevania Mirror of Fate, pitched the Metroid 3DS title to Nintendo. It happened. In March of 2016, a random retailer advertised new budget Nintendo Selects re-releases for Wii, Wii U, and 3DS early. Look at this advertisement. How did this turn out to be true? I was excited about this though. See, Pikmin 3 was really expensive at the time, so a re-release for 20 bucks, please and thank you. With the 20th anniversary of Pokemon on the horizon, many were speculating the release of a new generation of the series. Because Nintendo's domain name, Pokemon Sun and Moon, were leaked alongside the logos. Whoops. Pretty much all the Pokemon titles for the 3DS experienced just a ton of leaks. New Pokemon, new forms, everything you can think of gets leaked when a new Pokemon's on the way. Sun and Moon were pretty much the big thing for that year, and 2016 was some year, and by some, I mean terrible. Because nothing was happening. Nintendo stated that this was the year they would announce new details on their next home console, the NX, and because of that, man, nothing happened. We were just constantly waiting around for the thing to get announced. But this meant 2016 was the year of speculation. I specifically recall this lineup for Nintendo this year, detailing fun facts about the NX launch, marketing budgets for 2016, alongside the full 3DS lineup of games for the year. So a lot of titles are just code names here, but they state what caliber of games they were. I can make some assumptions as to what these various code names ended up becoming, but I can't say for sure. The European Nintendo Direct for March 2016 was leaked the day before it aired, and apparently, this is how Nintendo Directs are organized. The two big things out here were Super Nintendo games for the new Nintendo 3DS and Monster Hunter Generations. Yes, Super Nintendo games on the new Nintendo 3DS. The updated models only, not the original ones accepted. Near the end of 2016, Nintendo finally unveiled the Nintendo NX, officially called the Nintendo Switch. With it being a home console handheld hybrid, it brought into question the 3DS's future. Will Nintendo continue to support the 3DS or immediately move on to the Switch? Turns out, this thing wouldn't die! Reports discuss the 3DS not being thrown to the side with the inception of the Switch. In fact, Nintendo was thinking of a successor to the handheld. Here's the thing. Obviously, a 3DS successor was worked on by Nintendo. If they released 1-2 Switch, they worked on the successor to the 3DS. There's no way they weren't thinking of something internally. Now, the successor definitely ended up being the Nintendo Switch Lite, a handheld-only variant of the Nintendo Switch. But was that what these rumors were referring to? My shoulders are gonna work overtime on this one. Miyamoto then said during an interview that a GPS was considered for the 3DS. I knew something was missing from Pack Pix! 2017 was an interesting year for the system. As the Nintendo Switch was exploding onto the scene, the 3DS was cruising along with a ton of support. They were primarily smaller projects like remakes, but still, 2017 had some of the most 3DS support in a long while. And one of the projects that made it onto the system was leaked via the eShop. Data for a game called Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga DX, supposedly a remake of the original RPG on the Game Boy Advance, was spotted on Nintendo servers. Later on, an icon and full name were discovered: Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga plus Bowser's Minions. This game was later fully revealed at E3 2017, and speaking of E3, right around this time, the Pokemon Company announced their slate of projects for the year, being Pokken Tournament DX for the Nintendo Switch and Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon for the 3DS. But leading up to this, lots of talk was surrounding a third version of Pokemon Sun and Moon for the Nintendo Switch, being Pokemon Stars. After the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon announcements, the press site for the games listed them as Nintendo Switch titles in addition to 3DS, which ended up being a silly fucking mistake. Before the new 3DS XL was announced for North America, this banner came into GameStop and leaked online. I wonder what it could mean. In April of 2014, Nintendo trademarked the title Codename Steam, Strike Team eliminating the Alien Menace. Nobody knew what it meant, but it wasn't until E3 2014 that Nintendo hosted a dedicated conference to announce Codename Steam for the 3DS. And, fun fact, did you know Codename Steam released? Later that summer, Mega Man Legacy Collection 3 was announced in 2017, and the 3DS version of the site, which considering the first one made it onto the platform, it wasn't completely improbable to expect a
3DS version of Tomb Raider. Digging through the code, though, many uncovered the inclusion of references to the 3DS, implying a 3DS version was planned at some point. Then 2018 happened, and Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn was rumored to be a new 3DS exclusive. Take that, Nintendo! Nintendo's site labeled it as only for new Nintendo 3DS, but look at me playing it on a 2DS and feeling miserable. And that's how the 3DS ended things. With a bit of mystery. The last few games Nintendo released for the platform bombed, and because of that, a rumor circulated that Nintendo canceled plans for other games to release on the system, like a new Fire Emblem remake. It's unfortunate, but let's be honest. Most have moved on to the Nintendo Switch, and I'd rather see Nintendo's resources for game development go towards a system than more playing. As cool as some of the later releases in the 3DS's like were, they didn't do as well as they could have if they released on a system that more people were excited about and playing more consistently at the time. Through all that, I changed my mind about rumors. They can be pretty fun. From this day forward, I will only believe rumors, and if those rumors ever become facts, go.
Hey y'all, Scott here, and I can't wait to finally head to this game controller issues meeting I just found out about. Well, my hands are doing this, and it wouldn't be possible without the overlooked messiah of all video games, the controller. The pathway between you and the world within the screen. A game controller needs to house all the necessary input methods for games in its era, while also being incredibly transparent. It's best when it just melts into your hands and you don't have to think about where the B button is. It's just all second nature. However, the road to where we are now has been a rocky one. We've gone from to even, and that road started way early on. Video games need to be controllable to be considered games. So even back in the early days of scientists pissing around and making games on supercomputers instead of curing diseases, they had to create ways to play the games, like with the tried and true knob and button combo used for Tennis for Two in 1958. When arcade machines hit the scene, developers had to design the controls for each of their games, and thus their imagination wasn't compromised by limiting control methods. They could create whatever control method would suit their game best. Joysticks, trackballs, knobs, buttons, steering wheels. Each arcade machine was different from the last in terms of controls. So when home video game consoles were in development, there was definitely a hurdle to overcome. Developers were used to having free range with how to control their games in the arcade. How do you create a controller that can be a jack of all trades, one that can work with all, or at the very least, a lot of the games released at the time? Atari said f*** it and gave us a button and a stick. The Atari 2600 was the first major success in terms of home video game consoles with interchangeable cartridges. The first video game console ever, 1972's Magnavox Odyssey, sure did have a controller alright. The Fairchild Channel F predated the 2600 by a year, releasing in 1976, and has you holding a Snickers bar to control games. But the Atari 2600's joystick is definitely what the general public sees as the first video game controller, and definitely one of the most iconic. While its simplicity made many games harder to convert to the system, it's undeniable it played a key role in its success. No matter who you are, you look at this thing and say, yeah, that makes sense. How can you possibly screw this up? It's a giant red button and a rod. Anybody who's anybody knows what that's about. When you look back at video game successes in the early days, it's apparent that success came with controls that were easy enough for the general consumer to understand. And the 2600 controller was just that. Nevertheless, this thing is just a no-go nowadays. This stick needs to go see a doctor. It's just too stiff. And the overall size of the controller is a problem, for me at least. It's too small to comfortably hold the joystick with one hand and the rest of the controller with the other, and it's too big to comfortably hold it like a modern controller. Overall, though, I'd say the 2600 controller was alright for what it was. It's completely usable by anybody, just nothing you jump at the chance to use. After the 2600, controllers went through this ugly phase for a while. It was all because the controller designer went home for the weekend, looked at his phone and said, "I'm drunk."
What?
Wow. Yeah, the Intellivision, ColecoVision, even
Atari themselves with the Atari 5200 all followed the hot trend of putting a number pad on the controller. Let me ask you this, in what dimension do games this simple need more than 9 buttons? Many games came with overlays to put on the controller so you know what each button does, but that just kind of forces you to constantly look at the controller to know what to press with or without the overlays. In my opinion, that's when a controller fails, when you have to look away from the game to figure out what the hell you're supposed to press. Well, after all that flop, we then make our way to the Nintendo Entertainment System, a true innovation for controllers, breaking away from the joystick to form something that was more compact and easier to hold. The Vectrex in 1982 had a similar form factor for its controller, but the NES introduced something huge. Now I know, first thing many people probably said when they saw this cross on the controller was pump the brake speed racer, nobody puts religion in my dig dug. But this cross design called the D-pad made the controller way more comfortable to use with just your thumb.
Remember, to Mexican, me. Why'd you say me for?
To appear elsewhere, but the NES shot the D-pad into the mainstream, and with that, the joystick was old news. Many consider this guy to have aged poorly, and while I do somewhat agree,
Save me.
it's still
Go to the warp.
the main problem is the D-pad itself.
Go to the warp and then look down with the glasses.
But I love the feel of the buttons, just so clicky and satisfying to just go to town on. This is where the term button mashing was born. I see a lot of people say the sharp corners really dig into their hands, but I've never personally
You
had
had
it.
to stand over it.
However, the sharpness was criticized even back in the day. So Nintendo responded with some
Yeah.
alternatives. The NES Advantage
Hey,
is the
you
controller
die.
you never let your dog go to prom.
Look at my screen.
Beast that's powered by 2 whole controllers.
Look at my screen.
You can flip a switch
Look at my screen.
between player 1 and 2 for games like
Brr.
Super Mario Brothers where you alternate turns. There's turbo buttons with knobs which allow you to have rapid fire A and B, and don't forget the state-of-the-art slow motion feature, which was just simply the game constantly pausing and unpausing itself. And then for games that featured anything on the screen when paused, they just looked off. Regardless, the NES Advantage is a beaut of a controller. I think this thing is really slick. It just feels so sturdy, and there's something so satisfying about pressing these huge buttons. But what if you're not into overcompensating? Well, the NES Max may be for you, featuring a new grippable design, the turbo buttons of the Advantage, alongside something called the Cycloid, a bit of a precursor to the 3DS Circle Pad. It's much easier to grip thanks to these new thighs, but the Cycloid really isn't a replacement for the D-pad, in my opinion. Now, with the introduction of the NES Top Loader, Nintendo redesigned the standard NES controller.
You can use the auto clicker on this
This
edge.
thing was so
You can't.
close to being the perfect NES controller.
The auto clicker hits
Rounded
like,
edges, the
like,
nicer feeling
keeps
D-pad.
hitting.
They just had to angle the A and B buttons so only a lobster could hold it correctly. It just doesn't feel right. Nobody's hand normally rests like this on a controller. It's just uncomfortable. No, since the original NES controller worked, many simply tried to copy it. The Sega Master System and TurboGrafx 16 controllers
My game is lagging so bad when
were
I'm playing
basically just
Zelda.
their version of the NES controller. Atari decided to barge into the party with their 7800 controller, and I'm pretty sure everybody stared at them until they released this instead. Only in Europe, though. In the US, we were treated to this, and over there they got this. Like that. Of course, Sega had to do something different with the Sega Master System's follow-up, so they brought out this 3-button punk. Anybody
I was
else
thinking
ever
more.
realize just how
Yeah.
big the Sega Genesis controller really is? Like,
I'll give you
whoa. This guy has some meat on his phone.
It is?
Weirdly enough, it only has the same amount of buttons as the NES controller. Like, it doesn't have a select button, so even though it has 3 face buttons, they both have 4 in total. That led to problems down the line when fighting games were coming over, which required more buttons, so Sega
Yeah,
created
boy,
more
pick up the one.
of the 6
Come
button
on, let's
controls.
go.
Put your hand between the couch cushions and you'll find various Sega Genesis controllers, each different from the last. Like, Sega released so many Genesis controller variants, it's crazy. They're all different in terms of design, button placement, D-pads, it's ridiculous. I interrupt your regularly scheduled me with an emergency report by me. Controllers made by other companies, not the console manufacturers themselves.
No, I'm lagging so
And most
badly.
are up to no good. This is the third-party controller watchlist. Our mission statement is to bring more awareness to Here we have the TAC-50 joystick for your local Sega Genesis system. It falls in line with the rest of the, I guess if that's what you want sort of thing, controllers. It's not bad, but it doesn't necessarily work well with the vast majority of the Sega Genesis library. It does have these suction cups on its base, which makes it harder to move around on a coffee table, and it also looks pretty good on a windshield. The 6-button controllers are fine and good, but the 3-button one is the classic, the one my mind immediately shoots to when Genesis is on the mind. And it's a solid controller in its own right. It may be a bit bulky, but it feels good. However, it was completely outdone by the makers of Chibi Robo Zip Flash. The SNES controller is magnificent. It may not be my favorite of all time, but it does so much so right. The buttons are lined up in this beautiful way where it's so comfortable to use your thumb to press the Y button with the rest of it resting on B, ready to use at a moment's notice. Excellent for games like Super Mario World or Mega Man X. Shoulder buttons came swinging in L and R with all buttons in the D-pad feeling exquisite. Couple that with a rounded shape, and this is something that dreams are made of. Weirdly enough, with the release of the Super Nintendo Classic Edition in 2017, Nintendo re-released a new version of the controller with a less glossy, rougher type of plastic for the controller shell. And I gotta say, I actually prefer Atari, just go home. The Atari Jaguar number pad. I'm sure they look at combating Nintendo by adding more buttons to their controller and creating. Yep, that's the next big craze. More than 12 buttons. The kids will love us. Next up, the original PlayStation came to be due to a failed partnership between Sony and Nintendo, which would focus on a CD add-on for the SNES. After that bust, Sony created their own console based on their knowledge from working with Nintendo, which is pretty obvious looking at the controller. I sometimes forget how similar the PlayStation and SNES controllers are. I mean, fundamentally, the only main differences are the D-pad, 2 sets of shoulder buttons, and thighs. That's it. However, the PlayStation controller finally became a man with the DualShock. Look at the size of these things. This redesign features meteor triggers, a rumble feature, and dual analog sticks. The rumble and analog were obviously responses to the Nintendo 64's controller, which came before, and we'll get to that in due time. But the DualShock made dual sticks a standard. It also introduced clicking down on the sticks as an additional button input, which, may I say something here? R1, L1, R2, L2. These are shoulder buttons. It makes sense they're numbered like this. Why are these called R3 and L3? Anyways, I love the feel of the analog sticks. They're so smooth and the texture works so well. But what if the DualShock just isn't doing anything for you, and you hate happiness? Here's the Nintendo 64 controller. This came out after the original PlayStation controller and before the DualShock, and we can bark about this controller all we want, but gotta admit, this thing was innovative in so many ways. Controlling your game in 3D with the analog controls, camera control, 4-player multiplayer being standard on the console, even the trigger on the back, give your finger a cock and BAM! This was a huge leap forward for the industry, yes, but answer me this.
I was just doing
this. 3 prongs make it so you have multiple ways to play multiple games. Maybe you can hold it like this, or even this. But that means not all the buttons are readily available to the player in any of the controller holding styles. Also, the stick is garbage. This thing is just a skinny, plastic, uncomfortable piece of work that wears out too easily. Now, the Nintendo 64 controller did a lot right. It introduced Rumble with the Rumble Pack accessory. The analog stick brought us games like Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time. And look at these colors. This thing is a colorblind Scott Wozniak's worst nightmare. Yep, I don't like this controller. Moving on, the Sega Saturn controller was pretty decent. Basically just an evolution of the Genesis 6-button ones with shoulder buttons this time around. But Sega also introduced the 3D control pad for a few games, specifically Nights into Dreams. And this controller leads us into its immediate successor on Sega's last home console, the Sega Dreamcast controller. Yep, I don't like this controller. Now, is this controller as bad as the Nintendo 64's? Yeah, no. It actually has a layout that makes sense. Well, this stick is just not comfortable. This was still when many companies didn't realize that hard plastic on an analog stick isn't mankind's favorite thing out there. Also, why does the wire come out of the bottom? There's a groove for you to pop the cord in near the top, so that way it's pointing in the right direction, which just kind of comes off as a slight fix to a design oversight. At least the triggers were analog, which was a solid innovation and definitely made racing games more realistic. But who could forget the VMU, the memory card with a screen displaying info or housing its own games to be played? But that, PlayStation's back, baby, with the PlayStation 2's all-new DualShock 2. This is the same controller, except the face buttons are now analog, which is dumb. Why do you need the triangle button to be pressure sensitive? Why? It felt like they just assumed analog inputs were the next big thing, but you don't need it for everything. Moving past that, we have the introduction of the Xbox brand, and with it, well, I can tell you first off, that was the easiest Easter egg hunt I've ever been a part of. This controller does get a number of things right. Number 1, giant Xbox logo. The Duke, as it's referred to now, is a behemoth. It's big for the sake of being big.
That's what I asked too.
For it to be this way. Now it's completely usable, but it's just not that great when you get down to it. Like, what is this? Seriously. Also, the dual sticks just feel weird. Like, the left one has a large concave area, and the right one has a much smaller area, which honestly feels like it's convex. Microsoft designed a smaller controller for the Japanese market that made its way
Oh, you
over
meant
to the States
terracotta.
later down the line, and this is much more reasonable. I can actually get behind this one. It just feels much better. Everything actually makes sense this time. After Nintendo wouldn't stop laughing for 5
And
years
Obsidian.
straight, they really cleaned up their act
You
with
mind
the
stuff.
GameCube controller. This thing is pure comfort. It just feels right.
Why are you dying?
The button layout is definitely different
How are you
compared to the
dying?
controller. And while I prefer the more traditional design, this layout makes a lot of
Fuck!
sense. This button you'd probably use in most games is A, so why not have everything orbit around it? The triggers are crazy satisfying to click down, and the left stick is leagues better than the Nintendo 64 one. I love this controller, but while it's one of my favorites, it does have some gross parts. The D-pad and C-stick were made for ants, and the lack of another shoulder button is a bit odd. Regardless, the GameCube controller has definitely stood the test of time. These pesky wires, man. What is this, the year 2000? That's where the WaveBird comes in, a wireless variant of the controller. It uses radio frequency to transmit the wireless signal. The wireless controllers were around for a while, but most used IR, like a TV remote.
Oh, you do
had to
slash
plug
by.
into the adapter for them to function properly. But all you had to do
Yeah, you
with
can do
WaveBird
slash
was
by.
match up the dials on the controller and the adapter, and you're all set. While it wasn't the first wireless
How do you
controller,
buy?
I'd argue
What's
it
the
was the
point of
first truly
buying?
great one. You can go all around the room with it, and it works perfectly. The only main
But you
downside
can't
to the
buy
wire
anything.
is that it doesn't include rumble and it takes batteries. Was the GameCube C-Stick not small enough for you? Well, do I have a bad controller for you? Introducing the GameStop branded wireless GameCube controller. Too small and uncomfortable for any of you with hands out there. The analog stick keeps with the tried and true tradition of hard plastic to make sure you hate it even more, and the buttons reek of loud plastic sheep. Also, it's been reported that if you do touch a controller like this, you will most definitely contract bed bugs. Damn it. Wireless was truly the next step for controllers. We make our way to the Xbox 360, which has one of the most acclaimed controllers of all time. I mean, there was no way to go but up after this thing, but everything is just so finely tuned and it makes for a perfectly balanced controller. Minus the D-pad. Microsoft later released 360 controllers with this transforming D-pad where you can have a traditional one or go back to this garbage. Personally, I have no clue why you'd want anything other than the more traditional D-pad, but I don't care, this thing's fun to twiddle with. Next up, the PS3 controller. Jesus Christ, this has been over 10 years at this point, and you still haven't moved on? To be fair, Sony was set to go with an all-new design for the PS3 standard controller. I've never been so happy to see this design come back. The 6-axis controller was there for the first few years of the PlayStation 3's life, and was basically the DualShock again, but now wireless with motion control capabilities and no rumble. Sony later released a traditional DualShock 3 rumble and motion controls.
Go survival.
Thing was going pretty smoothly with controllers at this point. The 360 really hit it out of the park. The PS3 was going with the time-tested design, and Nintendo.
Where are you?
Yeah, the PS3 controller may have had some motion controls, but the Wii Remote Full embraced them.
What's up,
There are
homie?
definitely things
What's up?
I
PvP's
love
enabled.
about this controller.
He
When
has
it
a good
works,
PC.
it really works. When it
I think
doesn't
I'll
work,
go
it
somewhere
really
over here.
doesn't
Come on.
work. We only
Let's
have
go
a
mine.
touchpad on the remote with a few buttons on the front and a trigger on the back. It makes
So I
it
can kill you,
easy,
I'm
but
willing
the
to know you.
controller was probably designed to be usable in a multitude of ways,
Bro.
like a TV remote, on its side.
Why are you over there? Okay, come on, let's actually go mine. So you can go mine.
I really admire how creative they got with uses for the Wii remote.
Well, not over here, but you have to go in these, like, these deep crater holes and then you can
The
mine.
sideways control method isn't my favorite. I'm just not a huge fan of this D-pad or these buttons. And like I said, the motion controls are definitely hit and miss. However, Nintendo did release the Wii Motion Plus add-on and the Wii Remote Plus to enhance the motion capabilities. And I gotta say, with these, I'd say the Wii Remote is pretty alright.
I was mining terracotta.
And when used properly, it can be a really fun controller. But if you're more into
Yes,
the
I got
traditional
terracotta
side of
and
things,
obsidian.
might I suggest the Wii Classic controllers. You plug into the bottom just like the nunchuck and
How do you sell
how
them?
decent these things really work. The original is quite derivative of a Super Nintendo controller, but includes some modern additions like two sticks that are way too close together, and buttons I like to refer to as
Here you go.
all these triggers. There's also this mystery button on the top. which
Alright, there you go.
is
Now you can
long,
mine.
but I don't think this was ever used, and still don't know
Fucking
what
sucks.
use it was ever going to have. The original classic
You
controller
suck in
was
Minecraft.
great for retro games,
See, look, Jonathan.
lackluster for
John,
more
see, when you're in these deep craters, then you can mine.
around, here's the Classic Controller Pro. It's much more akin to the PlayStation 2 controller, and it's great for some of the more hardcore Wii games out there. Nintendo then put the Wii Remote in Photoshop, gave it a little of this, a little of that, popped a screen in the middle, and blam! Wii U gamepad. It gets a bad rap. It's huge, unnecessary, and clunky. Listen, I'm with you on a lot of that, however, I found this controller to be wildly comfortable to use. The grips are nice, and all the buttons and sticks are large and feel great. The problem is, this guy. The screen isn't the worst, but certainly not the best. And its use in some games was just annoying, and it led to one of the worst battery lives out there. The gamepad doesn't hold a charge well at all, so if you charge it up and don't use it for a week, chances are when you pick it back up, it's going to be dead zone. Also, you have to charge it via a separate power adapter, not the Wii U itself. Just so much garbage was thrown into this thing. I'm pretty sure you could survive in the wilderness for a week with just this. Camera, NFC, TV remote, knock it off. Almost none of that is needed. Except I will say the TV remote was pretty useful. Like with the Wii remote, if you're not into all of this, you can Pro Controller and get ready Wii U Pro Controller Defense Force. I don't like this controller. It all has to do with the fact that the buttons are on the bottom. It's just so annoying and stupid. This format worked on the gamepad because it was so big. The buttons were placed in a perfectly usable location, but here, it just doesn't work for me.
What hit do you get?
I think it's because they aren't analog yet. They're designed just like the 360s, which are. The Wii U gamepads were these fat patios for you to click, and they felt good. These, not so much. At least this controller lasts up to 80 hours on a single charge, which is something the gamepad definitely can't say. However, both got on my bad side for having this gross glossy finish. Like, this looks good in pictures and for 2 seconds after you open the package. Anytime afterwards, welcome to Fingerprint Avenue. Now I don't own this thing anymore due to
I'm inside the mines and I'm
If I
like
could
in
see a TV controller, I would first go out and look at the house third-party Wii U
I
controllers.
sell.
I don't know. You said in the shop.
But I do remember everything about it and how it was the definition of everything
You can't sell in the shop.
product was. This controller was trying to scam people into thinking it was a Wii U Pro controller. However, it turns out it's
Mine,
one
you don't get any
Wii
ore.
remote and fast
I'm
control
gonna look
all
for
in
it.
one.
You can
Now,
sell
the
it.
idea of having a standard controller with the capabilities of a
Oh,
Wii
yeah,
remote
fix
and a
it.
fast controller all in one.
Where'd you find out
Great.
that?
The problem was this controller was terrible at everything it did. The build quality was cheapo,
yeah.
mashed potatoes.
Why?
The only reason why anybody gave this controller any attention was the fact that there was a Super Nintendo
Oh,
and
it's
Super Famicom hosting available. The PS4 controller actually switched some things up compared to the PlayStation controllers of the past. They went for a new, more ergonomic design, and I think it worked out pretty well. There's this touch bar now, which I personally found all too useful. A light bar, which just feels like an excuse for this controller to have shitty battery life, and whoa, where did the start and select buttons go? Yeah, the PS4 was the start of something dreadful. The death of start and select. Instead we got the share button, which is useful enough, I guess, showing photos and videos of gameplay. But what the hell is this options garbage? Whatever. I do have to say that while the DualShock 4 is comfortable and a decent controller overall, there are a few problems with the build quality. I don't know, it's just the one controller I consistently have problems with, and I'm not alone with that. The Xbox One controller feels a bit like more of the same from the 360 controller, but with random tweaks and changes that feel both better and worse. It feels more premium in some cases, but cheaper in others. It's a bit more compact and trying to look more modern than the 360s. I think the D-pad is better and the sticks have a more grippy surface to them. But I don't know, there's something a bit off about this design. Not bad by any means, but I think I still prefer the 360s. Also, am I the only one that thinks the replacements for Start and Select make no sense? What the hell is 2 boxes and 3 lines? That finally brings us to the Nintendo Switch's supply of controllers, the Joy-Con, the controllers that come packed in with the console. The Switch is an interesting situation. It had to have controllers that have to be on the console itself to enable handheld play, but be detachable to make use of a variety of different playstyles. Listen, I adore so much about the Joy-Con, but basically taking everything in modern controllers and cramming them into something you'd find in a dollhouse. I mean, these things have a lot going on in them. A whole suite of buttons and sticks, new HD rumble, motion controls, NFC. They're perfectly usable, just not that great. I love the idea of how they were designed to be used as 2 separate controllers, but is this a way to live? The shoulder buttons for the individual Joy-Con are miserable, so much so that Nintendo supplies straps to slide on for better ones. Using them together is alright, however, they're still more akin to the Nintendo 3DS controllers compared to most home console controllers. For me personally, I go for the Switch Pro controller. This thing is truly no nonsense, it gets right to the point. It uses a button and stick layout that makes me swoon. The texture of it all feels great, nice big meaty buttons, a solid battery life, all the technology from the Joy-Con. This is what you call a controller. I always keep the Joy-Con attached to the Switch for when I want to play portably, and keep the Pro Controller on standby for home console use. And that is a basic history and review of most of the major video game controllers. We've gone through a lot, and while not all of it has been great, it's all led to where we are now. The inception of motion controls, the pause button, the introduction of analog control with the 1292 Advanced Programmable Video System. Jesus. Experience with number pads, trackballs, screens, these successes and failures helped us form some of the greatest game controllers out there. Don't immediately bat away new features and gimmicks introduced in controllers because they may be huge steps in the right direction for the
What
industry.
do you mean?
They may not be talked about as much as the games or consoles
Yeah.
themselves,
I haven't drank your
but they are some of the most important aspects of the video game industry. Well, let me know what your favorite or least favorite game controllers are, and if you'd excuse me, I have another, for real this time, meeting about video game related issues. This time on video game box art.
You gotta be kidding me.
What the fuck? I was stuck in lava? I'm gonna go buy iron so I can make a flint and steel.
You can teleport to me.
I know.
I was like, yeah, I'm brutal pulse of fury. I'm not the man I want to be. So much space is taken up by these things. And sometimes I look outside and see all the kids playing with their Xbox One where all the games are digitally stored on the hard drive. Playing digital games used to be an absolutely disgusting thought. No way I want the box, the case, the artwork. As the years go on, it's far more appealing. It's nice to have everything you want on one console. You don't need to go rummaging around for the disc. Sure, there are tons of negatives with digital content, but many times, I plan to take convenience over the principle of owning the physical game. I used to want to own a physical version of every game I play. Now, while I like that, it's not as big of a deal to me. I'm kind of like, yeah, if I want to pick it up someday, the physical copy will always be floating around on eBay. I'm in no rush. That's a thought I've had a lot lately. Yeah, I do have this feeling of preservation when I'm collecting these games. I don't think there's any one-of-a-kind items in my collection. Anything that gets released, I don't need it right now when I officially really want something. I can always find it on eBay most of the time, no problem. The price may be lower, the price may be higher. If it's higher, that's my fault, but eventually I'll find it at a decent price. And that's the case with most games I kinda want, not really want. And I don't really care about many one-of-a-kind items. Couple that with the memories of a smaller game collection, and I honestly wouldn't mind selling all of my games just to start collecting all over again from square one. Don't take that as
You just
any
joined?
connection to these games. I don't care about these things anymore.
Oh, come on, let's go mine.
It's just those
Let's go
first
mine.
years of collecting were so much
Let's
fun.
go mine, 'cause I made a
They
flint and steel.
were
Let's
exciting.
go
They were
rent for
games I
obsidian and
always wanted
let's
for
go
the
make
first
another
time
bro.
ever. And considering all the games I own can just be rebought all over again, I think it may be kind of fun to start all over from scratch. Sure, I'd probably keep a few things like Mario Galaxy. This was my original copy. That would be like me spitting in 10-year-old me's face if I sold it. But collecting was and is such a fun time. I wouldn't mind doing it all over again. Game collecting's a fun hobby to get into, and I really hope I inspire somebody out there who's lonely to become lonely and in it. Maybe what you have to do is to go through.
Is over here obsidian here? Nothing happened. I'm gonna do a job real quick.
Oh, what?
I need help.
Sell some items. I'm gonna go sell some stuff.
Listen, I have a whole bunch of.
Oh, I got a whole bunch of cobblestone.
What do you sell?
Find
Oh,
it.
it's not here. You don't sell over there. Okay. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, there you go. $120 for. Oh, it's 6 for stacks.
How do you sell?
64 dirt for $128.
What the heck?
Bro, we have to go to the casino. Cause this guy just won $5,000. You gonna go to the casino with me or not? Alright.
How do I sell it?
You had to. It has to be 64. 64.
I sold 2.
64 stacks of cobblestone.
But where's the casino at?
We're a plot.
Is it plots, right? Isn't it plots?
Yeah, you gotta go plots. 500 slash P auto. It gives you a plot for. It says it's $5,000 for a plot. Let's go to the casino. I'm in the casino. Go big, go home.
I don't know what's that. Where's the oil?
How the heck do I? I don't know. I don't know what's a mine anyway.
You can build?
Found it.
Where's the casino at?
I found. Okay.
Casino. Go big or go home.
I don't know how to play the casino.
Casino, please.
I know I'm upstairs, but I don't know how to
It
play.
sucks that you use the stairs.
Oh, you can do slash fly. Yeah, if you want to get banned. Oh, you can do actually slash fly.
I don't know doing the plot.
Bro, I want to play.
What do you use? Oh, really small.
How the heck do we play?
That's
I will
Mario,
catch
like,
this
is
building on
fun.
fire. Oh. How do we play?
No.
How the heck do you...
Bubble.
What? Oh, $10 is for, it's called VIP. Or $5.
Like, game?
Yeah.
I already have $5.
This is weird, because if you go in here, if you, on PayPal.
Go in.
What's the point? I wonder what actually worth 7 to win.
Oh, you go downstairs.
There's downstairs? Where? Oh. Yeah,
Private room, private.
oh, nothing. This is a strip club.
Yay.
$50 for 30 minutes.
No! You enter one, you automatically get. You can automatically pay.
Really? How much? I want to do that.
You can win that one. And get out.
I didn't lose money. Can I sleep, please? I'm tired. I still have the same
I'm out of here.
the strip club.
Okay.
It's a Minecraft strip.
Where's the casino? This is not no casino.
How?
Use my intense casino.
So I thought.
Yay! I fly. I'm your biggest fly.
Fuck. You like all my videos and content.
Maybe you'll take it.
I'm gonna go to mine anyway. Cause I love mine. Is this the casino?
Yes!
There's 2 casinos.
Wow!
But this one, I don't think this one has a private room. Yeah, this one doesn't have a private room.
Where are you at?
I'm in this like casino, the Irish casino.
That's the same one.
I want to.
Oh, it's another one that's you.
There's 2 of them? What?
Ah! Hey, buddy.
Mine diamonds, mine diamonds. bad though. Why is it funny too? Why does this exist? What? Maybe cheese.
Oh, you build.
Oh shit, Johnson. I wanna go play Minecraft.
What ball baggy?
I'm gonna leave. I left the server. I wanna go some porn real quick.
Do you think it's actually somewhere else? Because they just made a casino.
I'm gonna watch porn. Domix just went live.
How do you die?
You die. Jonathan, John, look at my screen. John, look at my screen. Yes. Now what's in my favorite ad?
What's your favorite thing?
Yes.
What's your favorite thing to do?
Yes.
What do you like to do?
What do you always do? Yes. Yes. How could you miss? How did you miss? To redeem your Raux prize. I don't like Raux though. Ooh, you hate Raux? Should go dying. Do I like Raux? Yes. How much do you like Raux? As much as I buy duct tape. It's not a lot. No, because yeah. Cause you miss. John, come here.
What's your favorite thing to do?
Yeesh. It's my favorite thing to watch and not that. How could this happen? How did that happen? How was it? Okay, have fun. Hey, well, you can't copy what I'm doing. Who said? Hey.
What do you
Oh, I forgot to put in censored. Mish. 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 Yeah. Boop, 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 boop. Miss. Okay.
That's not record.
Joe boy.
Hey Buster, where's my phone at? Huh? Where's my phone? Where's your phone? I'm gonna kill this puppy. Don't with the phone. The phone! He's still alive, phone. I hate puppies. What's your favorite thing? Memes. What's your favorite thing to do? What's your favorite? This side's my bed. My side of my bed. You can't go on this side.
Okay, so what happens if I finally still on this side of the bed?
I'll give it to you. Okay. Just point it out. Here, here. Give me my blankie. Give me my rubber blankie. Oh, thank you.
What's up? What's 72. later. Right now, yeah. Mish.
The greeting on.
Nice. Did you want to play Minecraft Survival? Oh, okay, you're playing Roblox. Minecraft.
Why did it do it again?
Cause you need to update your computer.
No, it's the third time.
Wait, oh wait, wrong computer. A few more. I have Sky. I have a Skyblock. Yeah, I have a Skyblock. It just doesn't want to work. I gotta go to place. Where's my Where's the ones I own? Modern furniture, that's nice. Bro, I can't find mine. Oh, dang. Can I find my owned ones?
What?
My owned game. My own, like, survival worlds. They
I
don't.
a map from Skyblock.
I have a map from Skyblock. I just deleted it.
My firewall won't let me.
What?
What are you saying?
No. I'm happy. That's not very nice. You're not very nice. See? What? I do not know what to play today. Dominus? You got a Dominus? How much Dominus do you have?
Watch now, look at this. Look how much this guy gave me. Look, wanna see how much this guy gave me?
I'm gonna play Coloring Pixels.
Look. Look, Ash.
I'm gonna play Coloring. I'm gonna play Coloring Pixels. I'm so happy I finished America.